And then, okay, everybody, welcome. If you have questions during this interview, you can post them on Speakeasy. You can ask, ask Natasha to ask the questions, or we can do a Q&A later.
I love it.
So I will leave that. Anything people want to hear, put any questions you want her to ask me, stick them real quick in Speakeasy. Let's see what people say. What's a question that Tai, are you single? Okay.
Oh, I love that. Are you single? That's brilliant. People are asking if he's single. We want some questions where we make him really spill the beans on how he's built this. We don't want to hear all the successes. We want to hear all the fuck ups, the failures. Are we okay with profanity? We want to hear how Tai has actually built this empire, created everything he has, all the fall downs. I always say to people, don't judge me by how many times I'm standing up. Judge me by how many times I've fallen flat on my face and gotten back up. That's what we want to know about Tai. We want to know what happened, what the journey is, how many times you were beaten down, how many times people told you were never going to do it, how you get through things and continue to build this huge empire at such a young age.
Somebody said, damn, Natasha is on fire. And then somebody says, love her accent. Is she single? Yeah, that's probably going to be a question more people are going to ask. Let's see who wants to know. Is it a guy or a girl? It is Drew Rivera. Okay. So you want me to start? Let's see. So now it shouldn't be an echo. This is a great question. Where have I fallen and got, I'll tell you this. I read something many years ago, and it's like all your regrets are going to be the stuff you didn't do, not the stuff you did and failed. So I think most of my regrets are like, I'll tell you one that I haven't told many people. Yesterday, I had one of my mentors here. He's this genius, like New York Stock Exchange corporate raider. He buys company. He's kind of like the guy you read about in the Wolf of Wall Street kind of guy. And he was asking me this. He's like, what's a mistake you made? And I told him back in 2012, there was these two business partners that I was kind of coaching, and they had a little business online doing like $5 million a year, profitable though, like 3 million profit, but they started to hate each other. Okay. One dude basically did ayahuasca and decided he didn't like money anymore. And so the other business partner's like, bro, my business partner won't work anymore. He moved to Sedona, Arizona. He's just never helping me. But he still gets 50% of the profits. So they started fighting. So I was literally in my house in Hollywood, and they were both sitting here, like yelling at each other, kind of. And then one of them turned to me, and the guy who did ayahuasca. He's like, why don't you just buy my 50%, Tai? And I was like, okay, but I'm not going to give you a lot of money. So I was like, I'll give the guy 10 grand a month. And he was like, that'll be perfect. I can live in Sedona as a hippie and all this stuff. So I gave him the money for the first month, $10,000. Then I just fixed one thing in the business. They weren't sending emails daily. They were sending emails once a week because they thought it would bother people. So I sent emails daily. I basically instantly added like 400,000 of profit that August. So we did a dividend. That partner got 200,000. I got 200,000 cash, but I only had to pay $10,000 for that business. So I took 10 grand and instantly made 190,000 profit in 2 weeks. And anyway, I ended up selling the business back to the original guy because I felt bad taking all the profit and not having done any work. But my failure looking back is, why didn't I do that again and again and again and again and again? And what my mentor yesterday who was visiting, he said, most billionaires, and not even forget billions, just most highly successful people, they find one thing and they rinse and repeat the formula over and over. But most entrepreneurs are too ADD, and we always like to try something new instead of repeating what just worked. So I think that was a big mistake. Like now I buy companies, and I had bought some companies way back too. So it's not like I totally didn't know this, but I should have been okay with a boring rinse and repeat system. So I've learned now, if I find a boring way that works, do it again. Like, don't be always looking for grass being greener. So that's a mistake, because I think that I would have really liked it over the last, and because I enjoyed doing that, and I think I left a lot of money on the table that I should have made. So that, in a way, I lost a lot of money on that, not doing that. So that's one. I've had many failures, but that's one that I was just talking to somebody about yesterday.
I like that one. I feel like the rinse and repeat, the whole vibe. So now we're hearing it. People who are at the top, right? It's not like coincidence that every single person has been through some kind of failure, some kind of fall down, some kind of issue, some kind of moment where they've had to pivot. Listen to the story Tai's just telling. He was implementing something which for somebody else, which then enabled them to make so much more money. Everybody needs to pivot at some point and get with the times. Right now, we're in a digital era. If I ask you guys, who of you guys wants to get your business out there? Say yes in the chat. If you want to get your business more out there to the world, you're in the right place. You're listening to Tai. You're sitting in this app because you've made a decision today. Say yes. Yes, I love that. Savelia, keep going. Jake, yes. Patrick, amazing. So you guys, you want to do something bigger with your life. You're committing today. That's why you're here, because you want to do something bigger. So you have to listen to different things. You got to ingest different information. You've got to start reading and programming your subconscious mind with the new version of you, with the business version of you, which is why Tai's going to answer all these questions today, because he's going to help you reprogram your mindset. You see, you can have the perfect skill set. Without the mindset, you have nothing. I look after so many 9, 10-figure entrepreneurs who have this incredible empire. They don't have it all together here all the time. They lack in love. They lack in relationship. They lack in keeping their mindset good and strong all the time. But look at Tai. He is an emulation of somebody who has created something by looking after his mindset. He's looking after his soul set. His heart set, his whole aura emulates everything and success. Money is just a byproduct of success. So all the money and abundance he's made and living, it's just a byproduct of success. He has not actually built something based on, I want to make loads of money. He's built it on, I want to help people. Everything I'm doing, I want to solve more problems for people. And the more problems you solve, the more money you make. So on that, what's the biggest problem that you have enjoyed solving for humanity right now?
Maybe a simple answer is getting more people to read. Like, I've gotten a lot of people to read that were kind of like on the I mean, everybody kind of knows you should read, but, it takes a little work and people need a little boost. So I think that a simple thing that I've helped a lot of people, that was a problem. A lot of people got burnout from the school system. Like, school makes you read stupid stuff, memorize things, where I kind of showed people like, look, if you read a book, here's a direct outcome that can happen this year. Like, there's a new book about Elon Musk called The Founders. I don't know who wrote it, but it's an interesting book about how he built PayPal. Like, I tell people, like, Jim Rohn always says, did you know there's books out there where people give you their exact way that they built a fortune, and yet people won't read it? And I think about that. Like, Elon Musk is maybe the greatest entrepreneur ever, but for sure maybe our time. And there's books about him, and just like, I meet entrepreneurs and I go, have you read that book? And I'm like, nope. So I think that on a more specific level, back in 2016, I built a program how to do a social media marketing agency. And I was like, all you need is a phone. You could be 17 years old, business, restaurants, hotels, doctors, surgeons, they'll hire you to just run their Facebook ads, their Instagram. And that program went crazy. And I trained like 50,000 people how to start their own business. And it had like insane, to this day, any country I go to in the world, somebody will come up to me, not just saying, hey, Tai, you motivated me, but like, yo, I was just in Denmark, and the guy's like, when I was in high school, I got that program at like 17, and I was making $250,000 a year net when I was like in high school. His mom, he actually FaceTimed me with his mom, and she was crying because she's like, when my son was 17, he bought me a house, like a $400,000 house. I think last year he put his bank account, sometimes people tell you their revenue, but it's not like their net. He made about $4 million net. So like stories like that are, helping people read is like a broad thing. Maybe the third thing, the 67 steps, I built this program. It's kind of like it was not the first program I ever built, online education, because it started in 2012. I started telling people, look, college education system, it's still going to be there, but a lot of it's going to become obsolete. For example, they're still going to use, my cousin is a medical doctor. He went to UCLA. The college system's not really broken as much for, say, medical doctors, but business school, especially undergrad business school at just like a community college, even Ivy League schools, my cousin, she got a business degree, and when she came to work for me, she's like, I remember nothing. So I was like, you know what? People go to school for business, and then you can't just learn to be an entrepreneur off a chalkboard. You actually have to do it. So 2012, I started doing these education things, challenging the school system. But 2015 is when the first online education course went insanely viral. Really 2014, but January 2015, I did this Here in My Garage video with the Lamborghini, and it was an commercial to talk about books and also mentors. And then I said, if you want, you can buy this course for $1 a video. And it's about what mentors taught me, 67 principles they taught me. And I called it the 67 steps. And that is also something, anywhere I travel the world, people are like, whoa, man. And that's more like you were talking about, that's more mindset. So 67 steps was a mindset course. The social media marketing agency, and I have an e-com agency now, those are more like a practical business. Anybody in any country with a little effort can launch. All you need is an internet connection, a phone, or a laptop. So I did a mindset course that helped a lot of people. So, some people, like you were saying, Natasha, like some people's weak link is the mindset. Like I know people who are billionaires, millionaires, but they hate their life. Believe it or not, that happens more than you think.
It does. It happens all the time. People are so unhappy. Like you can have everything around you, all the cars, all the fun, all the everything. To everybody else, it looks incredible, but it's not. Behind the scenes, it's a crumble situation. It's like mushy. There's no foundation. And then you know why that is? Usually because somebody inside of them, Tai, they have a self-limiting belief. They have something inside of them, which is usually stored between the ages of 0 to 7. That's what they say in the latest neuroscience, that it's stored between this young age. And it's in that moment, in that time when you don't realize your teacher says you're not good enough. Your parents say to you, you're never going to be as good as your sister, your brother, you're not worthy. Whatever these things are that happen, they store as traumas and they come out in later life. It's why people find it hard to settle down in relationships. I've had like so many failed issues and a failed marriage before the one I'm in now. And I was pushing things away because I was storing this pain of what I've been through when I was sexually abused. I was storing trauma from what I've been through in my past, right? Until I learned to release it. And it doesn't just have to be something so deep. It could be something as small, like I said, as somebody just saying, you're not good enough, or I don't want to play with you. And it's stuck in your mind. But that's what comes out. So that's why you've got to work and do the work. When people say, what's doing the work? It really means listening to different things. It really means reading different books like we've just been speaking about, tuning into people like Tai every day, getting into a good program, the 67 steps. You guys are going wild about it in the chat, obviously for a reason. Go and download it right now. Make sure you're doing it. This kind of thing is going to help you to commit to your new mindset, to getting yourself feeling fucking amazing every day. And who are we if we don't show up? If we don't show up every day, who else is missing out? Think about all the people in the world who miss out in your charity because you don't earn the money. Think about the children in that charity that miss out when you don't earn the money that you need to. What about your mom, your brother, your sister? People that are missing out because you aren't showing up in the highest way that you need to. And you get that choice every day. It's why me and Tai, we both just spoke at Miami NFT Week. We fucking show up. We show up because we want to help other people to live their best lives. And you get that choice every day. You're going to wake up today and go and moan and complain because let me tell you, your thoughts become your feelings. Write this down. Your feelings become your actions and your actions become your habits. And what are your habits? That's you. You are what you do. So what are you doing every day? What are you thinking about every day? Are you whining and complaining? You need to remove these things because these are not going to benefit you in the new habitual way that you need to build yourself. right? Tai, you have amazing habits. Come on, let's dive in, man. Give me 2 habits. I want 2 habits that you have done your whole way. How old are you? Sorry, I'm allowed to ask. I'm a girl. How old are you?
Are you allowed
Okay.
to act?
Okay,
How old are you?
pass. So whatever. But he's,
People
however,
ask, there's like all these conspiracy theories about me, if I'm in the Illuminati, how old I am.
really?
I've had some people, yeah, the internet has it wrong. It has my year wrong. I am in April, but it has most people think they know my age, but they don't. So I
Wait,
was
your
like,
birthday's now?
I'm going to tell you a little viral marketing secret for you all. A little side note. Always keep mystery around yourself. So whether it's your age, you can do it around, like people ask my net worth. That was a big one. I remember Jake Paul or somebody came to my house. No, Mr. Beast, really famous YouTuber. He came up to New York. He wanted to meet me. I took him to a Knicks game. And he was like, is your net worth really just $5 million? Because he's like, my net worth is more than yours. And I'm like, no, but I like that everybody thinks my net worth is 5 million. And people, it's funny, a lot of people, and that's what I was saying about keep a little mystery around you. You know, a lot of people they like try to get their net worth higher online. I'm like, don't do that. You just create yourself as a target. You know, if I could, now my net worth shows as some much higher number than 5, but I wish it still showed 5, you know, because look, I'll tell you this. The second I moved to Beverly Hills, I'll never forget. We had like a maid agency. I had a pretty big house. It was 17,000 square feet. It was 19 bathrooms, 17 bedrooms. Okay, so you need a maid. Can't clean it yourself. And it had a guest house and all this. So I hired this maid service. Maid comes, just works one day. A month later, she tried to sue, not me, she tried to sue the health insurance company. Okay. The health insurance company, because she said she slipped on a banana peel.
What?
Yeah. So it was a fake. Of course, it got dismissed. It wasn't a lawsuit. It was basically she was trying to get from the insurance company at her agency. She didn't even work for me yet. My point, I remember thinking, this lady's been watching Bugs Bunny. Like, nobody slips on a banana peel. But the point being is, if you have people think you live in Beverly Hills and your net worth is, you know, $1 billion, you become a target, you become a captive to your own success. Michael Jordan, you know, at one point, most famous person in the world, he said I was a prisoner. I went from my hotel room to the basketball court. That's it. So for me, like, having a little and you know what? That makes sometimes people think you're a scam. Some people will be like, oh, yeah, I remember when I first started, people were like, how'd you make your first million? And there was all these theories on how I did it. Let them go. You know, I forget who said this. There was someone I saw on say something. He said, you become very powerful when you don't care about the weird stories about you. I mean, once in a while, you have to, if the story's weird enough, you may need to come give your side of the story, but it's okay when someone in your family is like, yo, you know, tells a little gossip about you. You don't have to defend every single thing. Like William Shakespeare said, thou doth protest too much. So when people thought that I rented a car for a day, there was that theory. I was just, you know what? It makes stuff go viral. It's okay to be a little bit of a bad guy. Look at Floyd Mayweather, a little bit of bad guy. Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump became the president of the United States. I'm a bad guy. Even Joe Biden. If you hate Joe Biden, there's a lot of controversy. People say he's senile and this, but he's still the president. So you're going to have to get comfortable. Naval is a great, if you all don't know who Naval Ravikant is, he's kind of a very fascinating guy. But he wrote a book and he said, you know, be so big, it's cool to hate on you. It's okay to be big enough. Now people use my name in their YouTube videos because it gets a lot of views, or they use Grant Cardone, and that's okay. Like, at the end of the day, as long as it doesn't affect me personally. Now, if someone tries to come and punch you in the face, you need to react. But if it's some YouTube video about you, let it go. Like, be cool under pressure. Most people don't believe it. The internet's full of a loud
Love
minority.
this. I literally couldn't agree more.
You must get that too as a
Are you
female
fucking kidding?
influencer.
I have somebody who puts up a video. Natasha's a fucking scam artist. Like she hasn't got any following. Like it's all bullshit. And I'm like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah, she's got nothing on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm like, well, that's funny. I've got millions on all of them. You're obviously using the wrong fucking name, motherfucker. I don't give a fuck. Like I would say, don't listen to the small person. And by the way, this person still sends out messages to every single, you'll get one today, Tai. Anybody that I'm with, anyone I'm on stage with, anyone that I do anything with, they send them a message and they say, hey, do you know she's a confident scammer? And I'm like, oh my God, all I do is help people. It's fucking philanthropy every day. It's just help people with their mindset. It's help people feel better. And then people want to do, I don't give a fuck. And you know why? Because I was at Elena and Grant's the other day. I was sitting down with Elena and Elena said to me, this was literally at NFT week, right after you and I were on stage. And I sat with her and I said to her, told her about this topic. And she said, honey, let me tell you something. Nobody above you gives a shit about all this bullshit on YouTube online. No one gives a shit. Everybody below you, oh yeah, they care, but nobody above you. And that's why you and Grant and Jay Shetty and amazing humans, you know, and I look at my story and I'm like, oh, cool. Like this person's watching who's like a massive star. They don't give a fuck. These people don't care. It's the people below you. And that, by the way, it isn't just from people like me and Tai. You don't have to be fucking famous to feel this. You could feel the wrath with your family, like you just said. You know, you could feel the wrath with like, hey, listen to this, right? Napoleon Hill, great quote. Behind every setback is an equal or greater set up. Do you like that? Behind every great setback is an equal or greater setup, right? So behind every time you feel like you're being dragged down, every time somebody tries to slam you down, as long as it doesn't affect you, you don't let it affect you. You can't be famous without hate. When I realized I was famous is when people started spreading shit, saying, oh, she's this, she's that. Someone disassociates with you. You're like, okay, no problem. Does it stop my life going on? Does it stop me from helping someone and saving someone's life last week on stage and 2 weeks ago on that other stage? No. It doesn't stop me from saving lives. It doesn't stop me from owning it. And that's, you, Tai, are a definition of fucking success and believing it and achieving it and just inspiration to the world. And I love that. I never tell people that they're inspiration to the world because quite frankly, I feel like the greats are from the ancient times. They're the ones who inspired us, but you are an inspiration because I get it. I wake up every day with like, you know, Natasha's this, like, I'm all fucking great. You know, if you're not like, you make me more famous, like genuinely people make me more famous every day. Like that's how, okay, think about it. How we connect with anybody we connect with. Why do they know about you? Because people love to hate, you know, individuals or whatever.
Negative spreads about 10 times faster than positive. That's why I said like Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, was like kind of a genius because it's just I remember this one debate, and I don't really like politicians. I'm not super pro Trump or anybody in politics. I think most of them are. Politicians have been corrupt for the last 2,000 years, pretty much everywhere. But if I remember, he did that talk where it was him and Hillary, and it was a debate, and he's there, and it's live. I remember where I was. I was at this little pool party, and I was watching with my friend Craig, and she says something like, you know, it's a good thing you're not in office because you're not fit. She was trying to say he's not fit to be president. She's like, it's a good thing you're not in office. And he turns and he goes, because you'd be in jail. And I remember being like, I think I know who's going to win this presidency because he was okay. And if you saw the news, like CNN or whatever, which is a little more left leaning, they made it out that he's a bad guy because he's a big guy and he was standing up and they're like, he was trying to loom and intimidate Hillary, which I think that's a stretch. I mean, Donald Trump's the kind of guy that just says it to your face. Like, you know, there was that interview where the lady says, is it true, Donald, that you say that women are fat slobs? And he goes, no, only Rosie O'Donnell. So the point being is like, the character he was okay with was a little bit of this villain. And I'll tell you, it doesn't even matter if you become a social media influencer or not. The second you make a little bit of money, you will become a villain to somebody. And in the three categories that are most likely, and I'm not even talking about, somebody said we know who Tai voted for. I actually didn't vote on that election. A lot of elections I sit out because I'm like, What if I don't really believe in either one? Now, I know the arguments. You should vote for one because not voting for one's a vote for the other, blah, blah, whatever. So I didn't really vote for Trump or Hillary. I didn't. But I've never told anybody that. So now y'all know. But the three types of people you'll become a villain to, and this is kind of weird. And this is the second you make 20% more than anyone in your family. So like for me, I only had one person in my family really had ever made $100,000. He was a car salesman. And I made I remember when I was making like 120 grand. And the first type is somebody in your family. It's not always, believe it or not, it can even be your mom or dad, but it's more likely to be a cousin, something like this. They have less of your DNA, right? Cousins, I think, have 12.5% of your DNA. Half brothers have 25%, full brothers 50, twins have like 99. But so it may come from your family. You need to be aware of that and a little bit keep your finger on the pulse of the family, listening. So sometimes you want to nip it in the bud, but it's going to happen. The second category where you'll start to become a villain when you make your first $100,000 or first $500,000, whatever the number is you, and this is kind of a new place. It'll be online, but it'll be an acquaintance usually. Okay. It can be a stranger, but often now with social media, it'll be like someone in your Facebook network or something like that who you vaguely knew. Maybe you went to high school together, or maybe they're a friend of a friend. I had this happen to me in like 2012 or 13. I remember it being like weird. It was just like this random forum. True story. Well, I'll come back to this story. But the third category you become a villain to sometimes is yourself. And they call this, there's different names for this. We can get highly technical. They call it imposter syndrome. That is what psychologists would call it. It's a good thing to Google. So imposter syndrome is what a psychologist would classify as a person who looks at themselves and goes, I wonder if I'm really deserving to be making this 500. Maybe it's just like I got lucky. It's a fluke. That third one is a whole nother conversation to talk about because imposter syndrome, some people it doesn't happen to. High levels of narcissism, often narcissists won't have imposter syndrome. Or I should say psychopaths usually don't have it. Sometimes narcissists, one of the definitions of narcissist is insecure confidence. So I was reading the book about James Garfield, one of the presidents of the United States who was assassinated. Like 4 presidents were assassinated, I think. 4, yeah. Abraham Lincoln, Garfield was one, McKinley, and JFK. There was more attempts, there's been like 8 or 10 attempts, but he was assassinated by this narcissist guy named Gatineau or something in the late 1800s, who was a narcissist but had imposter syndrome, so he would doubt himself sometimes. So weird people have imposter syndrome, but also good people have it. And so you have to work, some of you, and this is more than you think, when you start to become successful, you can become a villain to yourself where you're like, and one of the ways, for example, it's like sometimes people will be like, Tai, you have a Lamborghini. Like, you could give all that money to charity. And then you start to be like, well, that is true. I mean, I was giving money to charity, but I could have given more. So I'm like, maybe so like all of a sudden, category 3, imposter syndrome will start to grow and you start questioning everything you do. You're like, should I give everything away? And da, da, da. But going back to this category 2, oftentimes category 1, which is your family, and category 2 will happen simultaneously, and they'll often lead to imposter syndrome, number 3. This environmental. So what happened, this is something that happened to me. It's so weird. So when I first started kind of in the education game, back in 2012, I was doing business education, but the main people making money in online education in like 2010, 11, 12 were pickup artists. It was a huge thing. There used to be a show, Mystery. Y'all remember that show, Mystery? And there was a book, The Game by Neil Strauss. So the origins of online education, like business education, really started in pickup artists and a little bit in fitness. There was a guy, 6-pack abs, Mike Chang, became a friend with him. He was like the first guy to do YouTube. I was the first one to talk about business. He was more fitness, but before fitness was pickup artists. So there was a pickup community in San Diego. And there was one dude who was like, I'm up in LA. And I said, come stay at my house. Like, I had a guest house in Hollywood. So he came, I remember it was a Friday, and I was doing all this fun stuff. Like, right now I work a lot because I own bigger companies, and I got 400 people working for me just in one of my companies, and I own, Pier 1 doing bigger stuff. But there was times in my life when I would just like chill, and this was on a chill time. So Friday, I remember I went to Laugh Factory Comedy Club. I saw whatever, Dave Chappelle or somebody. Then the next day, I took them Saturday night I got a box seats at the Laker game, and I went there and I invited a whole bunch of people. It was like Hollywood, so it was like cool. It was like cool guys, beautiful women, all this. Sunday, we just chilled at my house, had like a little barbecue. Then he went back to San Diego on Monday. And this is when I just started to have this much success online. Like 2012, I was just, because I was doing stuff in person. I was doing these events at my house in 2009, 10, and 11. I used to throw huge parties, almost the biggest ones in Hollywood. No, they were the biggest ones in Hollywood. But 2012, I switched to online. This dude comes to my house Friday, Saturday, Saturday. Showed him a great time. He didn't have to get a hotel, blah, blah. A week later, somebody's like, bro, you see this forum post about you. It's back when forums were big. There's a forum. I go to it. And all these San Diego internet guys, most of them pickup artists, but it was kind of like the who's who of the internet. This dude wrote a post. He's like, fuck this Tai guy. He's like, I went to his house. He's like, you're not going to believe it. He's like, he doesn't even work. He took me out with hot girls to Laker game. It was the weirdest complaint in history because I was thinking, okay, are these real complaints? Like I was single. He was single. It's not like he's married. And he's like, he took me to Lakers game, and he spun the entire weekend. I should have screenshot it. He literally spun it as me harming him psychologically. And then I was like, what the fuck? So that's what I'm saying. No matter what you do, ladies and gentlemen, before you're famous, whether you're famous, you're going to do some good deed for somebody, and they're literally going to turn it into, you're not going to believe it. We should have worked all weekend, and Tai took me to a comedy club. We met Dave Chappelle. There was 10 hot girls at a Laker game. I was like, blah. And it's like, fuck this Tai Lopez guy. And that's when I learned you can't win really with category 1 and category 2. But category 3, this is what Natasha's talking about, mindset. You will probably have to overcome a little bit of imposter syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Did he give you your money back? I know. I wish that guy never apologized. Now he knows who I am. I wish he would. I feel like in a fair world, he would have come and be like, you know what? 10 years ago, I realized I was kind of being a dickhead. My bad. Never wrote. You know what's funny? And this is your motivation, ladies and gentlemen. Eventually, I became bigger. All those dudes combined are like, I say they become like cockroaches I crush under my feet. So like Natasha was saying, people who have time, who are well known and have time to talk shit, they eventually will lose because shit talkers divert precious glucose in their brain from getting results to like posting. He wrote like this long diatribe on me. It was insane. But you win in the long, if you're patient enough, you'll look back 5 years later and be like, those dudes all wish I would invite them to events I do now. Of course I don't. But so you will get your revenge let success be your revenge, ladies, to the family member that don't believe in you. It's a cool kind of revenge because it's not like an angry revenge. Like people say you should. It's not like you go raid their home. I'm reading a scientific journal on, it's called Is Military Incompetence Adaptive? It's an evolutionary psychology article, but like, it's not a raid. About 1 billion people have died in modern history from one tribe raiding each other, like, and killing them in their sleep. But when you win with positive revenge, I like Nasser said that, you ain't hurting nobody, and you're actually, I'm going to give you, Natasha, a controversial thing. Because when you think how to motivate yourself through the down times, there's like different schools of thought. So one school of thought is the love school of thought. Like all you need is love. And through love, you will motivate yourself through. And then there's another school of thought, which is, you motivate yourself by like like Tony Robbins is very into vocalization. So you like look yourself in the mirror and you go, I'm Tony Robbins or I'm Tai Lopez and I'm good enough and I love myself. And so that's the vocalization kind of school of thought. And then there's a third school of thought that you see a lot, which is it's a new one. It's just kind of like I watch a lot of motivational videos and therefore I get motivated. Now, those are all valid. Like those can work, but there is a fourth one that's a very ancient way of motivation. And it's kind of like Napoleon, who's the greatest conqueror in modern history, Napoleon Bonaparte from France. He was bullied as a little kid. He moved from Corsica, a little island, to France. Everybody made fun of his accent. He went to this military school, had no friends. And of course, there's no journal of this, but for sure, that guy said, fuck this, nobody likes me. One day, the whole world will know my name. So that's that. I call that violent motivation. Like, and Michael Jordan, he got so bored playing basketball, he had a newspaper. Before every game, he'd try to find some person talking crap about him, a reporter or the other team. And if you did, he would come score 70 points. So maybe you could call it inverse or negative motivation. I recommend you learn all four. Don't be only negative motivated because it'll a little bit eat at you. So you need to do, a little bit of the verbal motivation and all these, but be okay with at least 25% of your motivation should be, damn it, I'm going to show them. It's okay as long as it's not 100%.
I love that. Fuck, this is so good. Guys, what questions do you have right now? I'm seeing them fire in the chat. There's so many people who want to ask questions, and I feel like we should answer some of theirs because I have so many wonderful things I want to ask, but I feel like if we just go through some of these right now, if you guys can
Okay, who has a question? We're on Speakeasy. This is an app I'm getting ready to blow up. It's a podcasting app. We have to get you to do a regular show, Natasha. A lot of people if you want Natasha to have a show on Speakeasy, motivation, throw some hearts up here. Let's see how many hearts we get.
Love that.
There you go. You're going to break the app.
All right, cool. I'll come do something for you guys. That'd be my pleasure.
Yeah, at least do it once a month. I'm going to blow this up. Okay, yeah. So sorry. I'll let you go. Someone says, I want to see Natasha on every platform with Tai. There you go. Would you work with Enrique Iglesias? And this has to be the most random question I've ever had. Tai, would you work with Enrique Iglesias and Anderson Cooper? Would you, Natasha?
I'd work with Enrique Iglesias. I think he's cool. I think he's got a great voice, and I'd love to hear his story. So yeah, I think he's a good one, but I'm not sure about the other one.
What was the other one? Enrique Iglesias and
Anderson Cooper.
Oh, Anderson, the news reporter.
Oh, the news reporter. Okay, would you?
You know what? I'm not a hater like that. Most interesting people, even if I don't agree with them, that's what I was saying about Trump or, Biden. Some people hate Trump. A guy who works for me, if you even bring up the name Trump, and he's a big guy. He's 6'6", 330 pounds. If you bring up that you like Trump, he may murder you. And then I got my other friend, Zach, who thinks Biden is an absolute, demented moron. For me, I'd interview either one because, like Abraham Lincoln said, you learn from everybody, even if sometimes it's what not to do. I'm not that kind. I'd meet with Putin. It doesn't mean and sometimes I always thought it was stupid that people say, oh, by interviewing them, you're endorsing them. I'm like, what kind of horrific logic is that you're saying that if a police interrogator interviews a mass murderer, he's endorsing them? Bullshit. People can tell by the interview if you don't agree with the person. You can do a hostile interview where you're basically interviewing, let's say you don't like Putin, you can interview him and ask him questions like, it's kind of fucked up what you're doing in Ukraine. How do you defend yourself? So I'll interview anybody for the most part. I mean, maybe I wouldn't interview. I don't know. Mass murder interviews are fascinating. There's HBO did this interview series on Richard Kuklinski, who's called the Iceman. He killed about 250 people as an assassin for the mafia. Those interviews are insane. I wish I did those. I would have done that interview. It doesn't mean I'm endorsing mass murder. So Maybe you would expose his inner mind. Somebody's giving you their phone number.
Can we do Nick? Can we? Well, I love that. Fucking going out there. Let me tell you, when you want something, you have to beeline it. It doesn't matter what you want. You want to give Tai your phone number? That's hilarious.
I think they're giving it to you, but you're married, you said, right?
This is hilarious. Okay, wait, there's a question that I like, and it was from Nate, and it was further back, and it was talking about the timeline of success and the realistic timeline of success. So Tai, I know you're going to drop something amazing on this. I just want to say with the preempt towards this as well, when it comes to timelining success, you have to understand small wins are wins. So if this is what you want, this is your end goal here, you cannot think that all these little things that are happening are not stepping stones towards that big manifestation. Everything that you want to attract, that you are aiming to build and achieve in your life, is a series of smaller wins every single day. Preach, Tai. I feel like you're about to come in.
I think you're better at the preaching than me. Somebody said they were at your wedding on Clubhouse.
Oh yeah, there was 27,000 people there. So I'm sure someone from this room was there.
So where did you get married, by the way? Did you get married in?
Literally on Clubhouse. We did it live on Clubhouse. John Gray married us. And then we actually had a church, like a private church wedding with the New York Times the day after. So it was, it was beautiful.
That's pretty cool. John Gray. Men are from Mars. Women are from Venus.
No, not this John Gray. I know who you mean. No, he's from Lakewood. He's a really cool preacher. He's really famous as well. He has like a big thing going on, John Gray. And the other John Gray. This happens all the time. People are like, is it this John Gray? I'm like, no, it's actually not. It's actually not.
So in terms of the time frame for success, I'll tell you what my most accurate mentor, this guy named Alan Nation, is a real genius. And he said, it takes 12 to 20 years for the average person to get what they want. So start young. That was his advice. Now, that's not exciting advice for you if you're starting at like 70, because you might be like, I don't have 12 to 20 years. But okay, so that's the 10 dark years. I talked about that. Depends on what you're trying. Look, let me tell you about success for a second. I consider success the jungle. And I'll tell you, not everybody needs to go in the jungle. Sometimes it's better to be out in the nice forest or the grassland. So first off, I think people set goals, and if they knew what that goal was, they wouldn't set that goal. Like I meet a lot of people like, bro, I won't be happy till I'm a billionaire. And I'm like, I wish there was a time machine or a, hedonic machine that basically instantly made you a billionaire for a day. And then you'd be like, wait a second, this is not that exciting. Like, be careful of wishing that you get something, because when you get it, you may not like it. So I think first off, my preface, before you even start a goal, ask yourself, is this a worthy goal? Is it worthy of your time to try to become a billionaire? Because one, it's hard. And two, as Elon Musk, the richest billionaire, said, he goes, I have moderate happiness and I don't want to extend my life because I think I will welcome death as a great relief. That's what the richest man in the world said 2 weeks ago. I'm not that happy and I welcome death as a great relief. Okay, I feel like that's not my life goal. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, I can't wait to die. I feel like there's something wrong if that's how you're thinking, right? So to me, step one, when you're trying to figure out how long it'll take you to hit your goal, make sure you got a good goal. That's number one, because most people's goals are dumb. Number two, realize on average, it takes a sharp person 12 to 20 years. Okay, I haven't even gotten the conversation of how long it's going to take a dumb person to get their goal. Okay, an idiot probably take 12 to 20 and add a zero. It's 120 to 200 years. You'll be dead before. If you're an absolute, no common sense, there is no time frame. The time frame is some, Methuselah 700-year one. So, and then number three, there is a way to cut the curve from 12 to 20 years, depending on a little bit of luck, how much you're willing to emulate and model and mimic mentors, how humble you are. I feel like a lot of people don't realize, like, reading a book or getting a mentor is actually an exercise in humility. You're saying, I don't have all the answers within, you know? So if you want, I think people can cut it. I've seen students of mine become millionaires. The fastest I've seen it was when I launched SMMA. Probably somebody went, I'm talking for true zero. They didn't even have a bank account. I think they were a millionaire in like 9 months. Now, we're talking about NFTs and some of the crypto world. There's people, you know, accidentally buying an NFT and they become somewhat millionaire overnight. But that's pretty rare. I think not 12 months I've seen it done. The fastest somebody's made $1 billion, I think, is the Jet founder and the Groupon founders, like 9, 10, 11, 12 months. The guys who did Gorillas, it's a new grocery company, instant delivery of groceries or semi-instant out of Germany. That company became a unicorn in, you know, 6 to 9 months. So I think that most of you shouldn't have that kind of a 6-month goal. It's like, look, this is a complicated question. How do I say this? It goes back to number one. Like, look, what you really want, you got to dissect life correctly. So I think about life like this. You work your way backwards. I consider there's 36 tenets right here of specific things you have to do. And those 36 tenets are part of the 12 foundations of life. The 12 foundations are part of the 4 pillars of life. And the 4 pillars are part of the one purpose of life on earth. So most people are down here being like, yo, Tai, like, what's the thing that, you know, think about fitness. How do I get a 6-pack? That's a common question. How do I lose weight? Then, so health, wealth, love, happiness. Wealth, people are like, yo, how do I make my first million? How do I create cash flow, liquidity, net worth? Common questions. But that's down here in the 36 tenets. You have to ask yourself, do you know the 12 foundations? And then if you know the 12 foundations, do you know the 4 pillars of good life? And then, but the top is the important. So for me, and it's an interesting question, everybody you meet, ask them the purpose of life on earth. I'm not talking about the afterlife because that's beyond my skill set, right? So I can't tell you what happens every day. But life on earth, to me, is what I call the beautiful life or the good life, or what Socrates and Plato called eudaimonia, which is kind of this beautiful life concept. So so the question is, how quick can I make $1 million or something? You have to start up here. So you have to say, what amount of money brings you the beautiful life, right? Because imagine you make all the money in the world, like the famous spiritual quote, what does it profit a person to gain all the wealth in the world but lose their soul, right? That's a very powerful statement. I think Jesus Christ said that. What's the profit of man to gain the world but lose his soul? And so if you're just focused down on these 36 tenets, I call, you're missing the purpose of life, which is the beautiful life. Once you understand the beautiful life, then you can set your financial goals. So for example, I don't think most people need as much money as they think to live a beautiful life. One of my mentors, Joel Salatin, my first mentor, is kind of famous now, but he financially, I would say, you know, he is a multi-millionaire, but I don't think he's a deca-millionaire, right? But I spend time with him. I'm actually going there this month. Like, this dude lives a more beautiful life. Trust me, I've been around all the rich people. I know a lot of billionaires. Personally, I see what's behind that. I know behind the scenes what their life's really like. I don't know any of them have beaten Joel Salatin. Joel Salatin has happy kids, happy wife. He's still married. He married his high school sweetheart. He owns 500 acres of land, so he has a sense of place in the world. He's rejuvenated the land, so he has a sense of accomplishment. It was a rundown farm, and he rejuvenated the farm using organic methods. He has the respect of smart people. You don't need respect of the whole world, but you want the respect of smart people. People around the world come to meet him. When I was there, presidents of countries would come to meet him. He has grandkids now. He always said, you know, you're successful when you're like on your farm and all your grandchildren are like running around at your feet, wanting you to tell them a story. He said that's part of the beautiful life. Is like, and then, you know, on top of that, he does have financial success. He's written, I think, 12 books. You know, he makes millions of dollars per year, but he's not even close to Forbes list, but yet he's got the beautiful life. So, you know, you have to ask yourself, because making a lot of money is like going in the jungle. And if you're trying to make it fast, it's like going in the jungle where you don't even know what you're doing, full of quicksand, snakes, cougars, jaguars, you know, booby traps. And so people's question is like, Tai, how quickly can I run through a dangerous jungle and get the treasure at the other side? And I'm saying for a lot of people, see, Joel never went in that jungle of trying to make as much money as Elon Musk. And I'm like, I think that was maybe smart, you know, because like, I don't think, now I've gone into that jungle and sometimes I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have, you know. I think it's okay for some people to go into the jungle. Some people have the gift of knowing how to do business. Some of you have that gift, you know, about how to make money, and you can use that gift. But a lot of people who don't have the gift of making money ask me, how can I be the king of the jungle? And I'm like, well, maybe you ain't meant for the jungle. Maybe you're meant to be Joel Salatin. You got 500-acre farm, you grow your own food, you do what you want. You have no boss. He hasn't had a boss since he was a teenager. You're happily married, or you're with, you know, whatever. You got kids, grandkids. His mom lives on the farm. People from around the world, like, he has respect, dude. He's more respected, I will tell you, than a lot of people I know on the Forbes list. And people would die for a good rule. I'll tell you this, not to be too long-winded, but you asked a good question, Natasha. You know, I'll tell you when you know you're on the right track. Will people die for you that aren't your own family? If you pull that off, you are at another level. And Joel Salatin, you know, he was kind of like a second father for me. I've thought about it before. I don't know the exact answer, but like, I might take a bullet for Joel. And there's not a lot of people I would take a bullet for that aren't my own family and close friends. But I'm like, I'm going to take a bullet. And I'll tell you this, he has a whole universe of people who he's transformed their lives that have that same feeling, you know? So a good gauge of the beautiful life is like, what's the amount of money I can have that I'll have a tribe of people who would maybe die for me. And I think that number in money is much more attainable. I don't think you need like a lot, like somebody just said in here, I'll be happy with 200 million. That's what somebody wrote in the comments on Speakeasy. And I'm thinking, okay, so you're saying if you got 199 million, you wouldn't be happy? Oh, he'd probably say, yeah, 199. I'm like, well, what about 100 million? That's a lot of damn money. And then the question becomes, what if you had 3 million in your bank account with cash flow on an ongoing basis coming? What if you lived a little simpler of a life? You could have your little Ferrari or something, but maybe you grow your own food, you keep your costs low, and you occasionally do, you know, you have a house in New York City and you have a house in the countryside. Like, you may have a better life. So be careful of messing up the top of the hierarchy as to what your goal is. I do not think any human at the top should have $200 million is the hierarchy, the top of the hierarchy, because what happens if you only make 50 million? You'll be very depressed. I know more than one person who have made 9 figures, over $100 million, who are very unhappy. You ever seen the movie Big Short, Natasha? It's like Christian Bale. It's all about these dudes who made money in 2008. One of them's my friend's brother, the real character. My friend probably makes 10 million bucks a year, and he's super depressed because his brother made like $500 million in 1 year. So he doesn't even enjoy his money. So that's why I was saying, like, money is it's a good goal to have financial independence and above average, but it's tough to peg it to the exact Like this guy said in here, I'm going, bro, you wouldn't be happy. You're only happy with 200. That's your minimum. I think that's a crazy goal. Like your life ain't going to change. 10 million is a lot of money. It's all about your lifestyle. If you got 10 million after tax, your debt isn't high. You live a badass life. You don't have leeches in your life you don't have people trying to leech off you. You're going to be good with 10 million. You're going to be happier than all my friends who have 200. So anyway, that's my long answer to this, so I don't know.
I think it's powerful listening to this, but you know what? It comes back to the goalposts just move. As soon as you achieve one thing, the goalpost moves. That's why this everlasting search for happiness is so ongoing, because as soon as you hit the 50 million mark, then you're like, well, okay, I'm already here. But you're like, I want to do more, because 50 is not enough. And now hundreds are not enough, right? Billions, the TV show. Have a look. He's such a great example. The character of Axe. Have you seen it? Billions, the show. So good. And, every single time he hits it, he wants to make another billion. He's now at 10. So it's never enough. And that is such a good replication of real life. And it doesn't matter if you're shooting for 100,000. When you hit that 100,000, 200,000 is going to be the next thing. That's because the goalpost keeps moving by who? You. But you got to keep moving it to feel energized, to feel like you're going after something greater. Because otherwise you'll sit on the 100 and then you get comfortable. And like my grandpa, for example, he doesn't work, right? He's in his nearly 90, and he sits there every day reading and studying and going on things like this on Speakeasy. He's not necessarily on this today, but he'll go and listen. He'll go and listen and learn, because I said to him, why'd you do all this? Because I want to keep learning, because the day you stop learning, your brain dies and you die. And so you've got to keep moving that goalpost. You've got to always have goals, always have new aims, always using your purpose, and keep shooting bigger, because otherwise you'll get bored. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You could be starting this at 50, you could be starting this at 70, you could be starting this at 20. There's so many millionaires now who are in their 20s. I live next door to someone who's, made tens of millions on YouTube. And it's incredible. Tai made tens of millions on YouTube. I made a lot of money on Instagram. So we do it in different places. But like, this is the new millionaire today. The NFT people, the people who are in crypto, the people who are digital, who are on these platforms and online, right? And this coming up so young. You don't have to wait years to make this kind of money anymore. You can make this kind of money so much faster. So of course, if you make it within 2 years, you made your 10-year goal, your 5-year goal, you make your 5-year goal, your 3-year goal, you make your 3-year goal, your 1-year goal, and let's talk. Now I want to know what your goal is, because that is where you should be shooting for, because you no longer have to wait 10 years to achieve it. You can do it in 5. You no longer have to wait 5 years. You can do it in 3, see? So you have to just shoot harder, shoot faster, because it's possible.
Yeah. And I would say, I'll tell you one thing too. What I say about goals, you should, like you said, growth mindset, but you can also expand your goals. So for example, let's say your first goal you're focused on, your main goal is making money. Once you do it, you could also like get in shape. Look at Jeff Bezos. He became the richest man in the world, but then all of a sudden he got ripped in his 50s. So you can also expand your goals. You can also make a goal, for example, to simple goals like learn a musical instrument. These will bring you tremendous satisfaction. Read the top 20 most important books ever written in a year. So you could, as you stay in the growth mindset, don't think you always have to just push on one of the goals. And one of the things to live the beautiful life, and this eudaimonia, Aristotle, Socrates concept, is also to live a balanced life. So I'd rather, myself personally, if I was 18 years old again, I'd tell myself it's better to have health, wealth, love, and happiness simultaneously than push the wealth pillar of life to the top. So I knew a guy, a friend of a friend, he was worth $2 billion, but he was so unhealthy that he was literally bedridden. And so I always ask people, if I told you I'll wire you $2 billion, but you can't get out of bed to use the money, would you want $2 billion? If I told you have to stay in bed for the next 15 years, day in, day out, you couldn't move, people would roll you around, people would bring your food. Who's taking that for $2 billion? Nobody really would, unless they're insane. So expand the balance of the goals too. So as you hit, let's say your goal is to make $1 million, so you make $1 million or whatever the number is. Then the next goal all of a sudden can become get 6-pack abs. So let's say you hit your financial goal, you make your first $1 million or whatever the goal is. Then maybe, I mean, health should be hit early, because once you get unhealthy, it's a son of a bitch to fix it. And you don't really want to be ripped at 93 years old. I mean, you do want to be ripped, but you don't want the first time of your life to be ripped at 93. Like, you don't want to be like horrible shape and you get in shape, and it's not as much utility. But then love, you know, like people, I know some people forget to, you know, to have kids and stuff like that. And kids, our DNA is built. It's hard to have high levels of happiness. You can't fool your DNA all the time. You can fool your DNA part of the time, but you can't fool it forever. So some people are in the pursuit of making money and they forget about family and they forget about love. And then all of a sudden you're old and rich. Like a lot of dudes are like, bro, I'll make money and then women will flock to me. Okay. Having money will help you with mating is the scientific word. There's no doubt that men who have above average hunting abilities, we'll call it resource gathering, there's no doubt that they do better in the mating sphere. Okay. But what happens if you take so long to make money? You're 90. Now you can't even really have sex. So I think that there's a time sensitive nature to health, wealth, love, happiness. And you better hit it, you know, you better hit it in the right time frame. So if you just focus on wealth through your 20s, 30s, and 40s, whatever the number is, and then also like Jeff Bezos becoming ripped in his late 50s, I'm not sure how good that feels for him. I mean, it's better than never getting ripped, but I guarantee you Jeff Bezos totally looks back and goes, what the fuck? Why didn't I do this when I was 28? You know, it's kind of like I was in Beverly Hills when I first moved there. And I go to this, if you've ever been to downtown Beverly Hills, it's a crazy place because it's all these like bizarre people. It's all these rich, bizarre, it's complicated. You got women in there that have been reconstructed from scratch, and men too. I mean, it's like cyborg women and men are there. Just like they took another head and mounted it on their body, right? It's like complete transplant of the whole, they took the whole front off, took another front, put it on. I don't know where they're harvesting these front surgery. You go to like Eastern Europe, they go to poor villages. They're like, can I buy your whole front and sell it to somebody in Beverly Hills? I just want from the face down to the feet. I'm just going to pop you on. You can have their face and body. But anyway, so I was in Beverly Hills, and there's this little Italian restaurant. I forget the name now, but it's kind of a cool place. Anytime you go there, there'll be some movie star. Not Spyros. It's that one on the wall. Anyway, a Ferrari pulls up, a badass one. And I was like, damn, because I've always liked cars. It's not even a showing off thing. I've liked them since I was a little kid. This Ferrari pulls up, the brand newest model, all decked out. You can't see who's in it. Door opens, and this dude gets in like in a walker. They like have to bring a walker up to the Ferrari, and he's like 93, and it's like somebody like his like assistant lifts him out of the thing, and he's like, and I was thinking, that's the wrong time to have a Ferrari. Like, there's not a lot of utility about being lifted out of the nursing home, from the nursing home walker, going to the, like, yeah, I mean, I'm not hating on the guy. I'm just going, this is time sensitive. So you don't want to be 93 and get your Ferrari. It's better to have, you should give away all your wealth at 93. I mean, 93, I don't want to really have a Ferrari. I feel like you look insane. But 93, you want to have grandkids. You know what I'm saying? So you need to space out your goals is what I'm trying to say. So some of you are like, it's kind of like, you ever seen a dude who goes to the gym I know a guy only does his arms. And I went to the beach one time with him. There's some women, and he had to wear because he likes to wear pants, so you can't see how little his legs are. This dude looked insane. He had like, I can't even draw. He looked like my tripod holding up my phone. Like big bulky body, he had big arms, and then his like little stick legs. And that's the perfect analogy for a lot of entrepreneurs I know. They've got wealth, but like health sucks. They got no love, whether it's friends, family, romance. They haven't had time for it. They're not that happy. Like Elon Musk says, I have average happiness. Like I would rather, I just don't like that. I feel like you're making a big boo-boo. So anyway.
Couldn't agree more. You do not want average happiness. Write in the chat if you want full happiness at full sparkle, if you want half-assed happiness. Because if you want full happiness, you got to space your goals out, like he says. You got to choose, I want this at this point. And now I'm going to work on this. And now I'm going to work on, full happiness. I love that, Patrick. Okay, I want to answer your question while you guys are writing down whether you want full happiness or not. Who was it? It was, he's got a tick next to his name. I like the fact he got a tick. Zach Ross, what's the best way to go viral? Let's go there. I feel like this is such an amazing topic. Both you and I have had virality on so much of our work. And, you know, you get it above most people. You were the first to YouTube 2012 in business. You know, you popped it every way and then built on every platform. So virality, let's go.
Oh, that's good old my friend Zach. Zach, what did you add? Oh, that's Zach Ross. Oh, what's the best way to go viral? Good question. So experiment a lot. You got to put out 100 videos. One will go viral. That's like my first answer to you. Secondly, I would say, you know, the people that go the most viral, look, there's two ways you can go viral. One's quality way and one's kind of like being insane. A lot of insane people go viral. That's the problem now. So like basically a lot of virality is mental illness. So I have mixed feelings about that virality. You look at reality shows, you're like, bro, we're watching clinically mental ill people. It's like watching a zoo. So I wondered, sometimes there's a certain, I like wonder about the ethics of it. Oh, not that I have any input in it, but I'm just going, okay, reality shows, still on network TV, like reality TV still kind of gets the most views and ratings. TV's dying, but TV's pretty much just become, you know, weird reality shows. I was in England. They have that weird show in the UK. What's it called? And
Love Island.
Like, what is it?
Love Island.
The Love Island. They got like, and I'm going, oh, great. What we're doing is the equivalent of going in the 1700s to where they used to have these insane asylums where I just locked people up and didn't help them at all. And it's like, let me just look through a window and charge people. Hey, you want to make fun of all these insane people? So that's what I mean about the ethics. I'm like, if somebody did that now, you'd be like, that's kind of fucked up, bro. You go into like people who have mental handicaps and you're looking through the mirror and you're charging people to look through the mirror and going, hey, I'm NBC. Look at the mental illness here. It's, you know, I'm going to make my millions here. And so that's one kind of virality. And that's the most dominant kind of virality right now in the world, unfortunately. It's been that way for a while. And the second type of virality is maybe more noble or something, which is like you go viral off quality. You say something, and maybe you say it in a little bit of a way that's catchy, you know, maybe you exaggerate a little bit. Most stuff that's viral is a little oversimplification. It's like, always do this and you'll be rich. And, you know, but like quality can win too. And yeah, we were talking about VRIN score. This is something I used to teach a lot. VRIN, out of an old Harvard textbook I found. Value, you know, so you need something else. You imagine 1 to 10. Value, how rare it is. Inimitability, that's how hard it is to copy. Okay, VRIN, and non-substitution is the N. So things will also go viral that are very valuable, that have rarely been said before, okay, that are, you have a way of saying it that's hard for another person to say it that way, and then non-substitutable, there's not even another person in the universe who kind of has that angle on stuff. So, you know, the things, the insane asylum stuff that goes viral, that you just need to be outrageous. So, I mean, there is a third way to do it, which is actually kind of interesting. It's what I think Kanye West does. He combines insanity with value. Like Kanye has like good music. His clothing line, you might not like all of what he did with Adidas, but it's not like it's junk stuff, right? So he's the third, which is like maybe the hybridized model of you combine a little bit of mental insane asylum viewing sessions with quality. And that's actually, that third one is bigger than you think. There is a lot of that insane asylum meets quality. And some people would say that about my Here in My Garage video. They're like, oh, how is this value? Like, you show a Lamborghini and behind it is books, and people are like, what the fuck is this? And so there was a little bit of insanity meets value, because I talked about things that people hadn't heard. I talked about simple corollaries of life, like the more you learn, the more you earn. That video got a lot of people reading, millions. So I think that if I had just made a video and I was standing and I had a book and I go like, here's a book I'm reading called by Las Casas called Short Account of the Destruction of the Indies. It's the story of how the Spanish, killed and murdered everybody in Puerto Rico and Cuba and Dominican. But it's a famous
I'm going to Puerto Rico. I'm flying tomorrow.
Well, there you go. You need to read this book before you come.
I do. I want to take it on the plane with me.
It's Bartolome de las Casas. It's a famous book from, I think, 1600s, 1500s. But if I just stood in front of a camera and had been like, read books more, it is good for you. Like, it's quality in the sense that what I'm saying is true, but somebody once told me, you gotta put some cheese on the broccoli. And Kanye puts cheese on the broccoli. Like, he put the cheese as the entertainment insanity, and the broccoli is the quality, So put a little cheese on the broccoli, Zach, if you want to go viral.
This is beautiful. This is so powerful. I hope you guys are taking notes. There's so many ways of going viral. And this is such a beautiful way of using something that, you're putting your own twist on that has never been heard before, right? When you think about why a view suddenly gets 1 million hits, some of my videos will suddenly go to like 5 million views on Instagram, right? And I'm like, oh, why did it suddenly do that? Or maybe on my TikTok or on my YouTube, how does it do that? Because I'm putting something out there that maybe is trending. It's like a trending word, like high was trending, that 420 thing yesterday. Okay, that was like trending. So that was a big one. So if you use the word high somewhere in your video, or the fact that people want to call you a fucking scam artist or whatever, and then you use their word, so you're already being searched on that. So perfect. You just use certain things around what you're actually trying to put across. You've always got to be offering these 3 things. Write this down. Number 1, what value are you offering? Okay, so that's your content. That's who are you? What are you showing up as? What exactly do you want to convey to the world? What value are you offering? Number 2, where have they seen you? So they want to know what publications you've been in, where have you been seen, who's talking about you. If we go to your page and we see that you've been spoken about by Forbes, you've been spoken about by Entrepreneur, maybe you're in Elle magazine, I don't know, any one of these cool things, you're in something big, then we're going to trust you more because you're being spoken about by a publication that I already trust and I already read. Okay. Number 3, the third point, they look at who you're associated with. So when they go on my page and they see that I'm associated with Tai, or maybe Grant Cardone, or maybe Jesse Itzler, or maybe Jim Quick, or like anyone cool who I talk with regularly, or they come on my show to my house, whatever, then they associate you and they think, yeah, okay, well, they vetted her and she's cool, then I'll trust her. Same thing for you. So they know Tai fucks with the best, right? He only is around you've listened today to some of the billionaires and trillionaires he's sitting down with, in a way, you know what I mean? But like, he's sitting down with these incredible people, and therefore you're going to trust him because you trust these people. You trust these people already that he's speaking about. So even if you don't know who Tai is, you trust him through other people. So those are 3 things that really help towards virality as well. But it's really about that message, that key point, putting something out there that is not just maybe about you. Maybe it's a go viral video where it's about somebody else. That dad coming back after he's been at the war, greeting his little boy. Like, I'm a mommy, I got a son. So there's videos where I've done something really emotional with my son when we were homeless, right? After we were homeless and we came back from that, and I just wanted to put a roof over his head. That video went viral later on. Those sorts of things go viral because it's really personal. It's really vulnerable. It's me coming forwards, being vulnerable, opening up from my heart and just speaking my truth. So when you do those kind of things, and you have a good story behind it. That's what people want to learn. Like Rumi, the 16th century poet, once said, he's one of my favorite poets, and he says, let pain be your cure. Let pain be your cure. Any adversity you go through, any pain that you go through, any trauma that you're going through or have been through, don't let that define your future. Don't let that hold you back. Let it build your future up. Let your setback become your comeback. Remember earlier we were talking about Napoleon Hill and those sorts of things. And that's Tai's a living definition of that. Tai, give us amazing one like killer tip that you have to do for getting over failure. Because people always think, oh, I don't want to fail. You've got to lean into failure, right? You've got to do shit that scares you.
A good question. How do you overcome failure? I mean, I think you need more than one arrow in your quiver, right? Because it's situational. Sometimes, believe it or not, you can suppress thinking about it. Okay. Now, a lot of psychologists and people will disagree with me, but a lot will agree. Suppression can be okay at times. So something happens, especially something, I see a lot of people sweating the small stuff. Like, you have a bad, people are like, oh, I had a bad day, and they get in a bad mood. I'm like, that's weird to me. Like, just suppress that and never think about it again. Okay. That's my best advice for that. Now, that doesn't work all the time because let's say you had tremendous childhood trauma. Mm-hmm. Okay, just full-on suppression will have its own set of negative externalities, you could say. So if you're dealing with something that's like wildly traumatic, then I think you have to. Carl Jung was one of the famous psychologists, founders of modern psychology, psychoanalysis. Some of that stuff's been disproven. Although people love Myers-Briggs 16 personalities, that's from Carl Jung. One of the things he said is you have to know your personality. And there's in his system, Myers-Briggs, it was called, based off, it's Jungian. There's E or I, there's N or S, T or F, P or J, right? So that gives you 4 letters. Each can be 2 different ones. That's 16 combinations. So if you're a T, for example, you're probably going to the best way to process trauma is more logical. Okay, but half the world's an F. And I disagree with a lot of stuff because a lot of people who are Fs give people advice that only works for Ts. Feelers will give their feeling advice, and it doesn't work for thinkers. And so, but if you're a thinker and you try to give a feeler your logical way of dealing with your childhood trauma, it won't work for them either. So that goes back to the ancient oracle of Delphi, know thyself. But for me, I'm a T. I have tried. My mom's an F. So growing up, my mom would often be like, if you had this trauma in life, here's my emotional way of dealing with it. And it never works for me. But if I do the logical side, like believe it or not, like part of the reason I'm a big fan of evolutionary psychology and Dr. David Buss and why I read stuff. So this is right here. This is just this random article. I've got 2 of them Dr. Buss sent me. Courage and Cowardice in Wartime. Is Military Incompetence Adaptive? This is from Harvard University article. So let's say I feel I've had a setback from not being courageous enough, okay? For me, I'm better off of reading this complex article on the evolution to adaptive psychology. So there's something called the opponent deception hypothesis or the performance enhancement hypothesis. Now, half the world will not, my mom, if she's dealing with trauma, and I start talking to her about the opponent deception hypothesis, it does not help her at all. She's a feeler. And I actually think about 80% of the world is feeler. So for me specifically, dealing with setbacks, I often do better by reading a complex article on, battle incompetence and positive versus negative illusions. And I've done therapy too. Therapy's okay. It's not therapy to me works better when there's 2 of us and I need to work out something. A therapist is great to be in the middle. But I've done therapy just for myself. I think because I'm more logical, it helps me less. But some people really get held by it. Now, one problem is most feelers I know don't want to admit they're a feeler and they want to be a thinker because people think thinker is cool. And a lot of people think their thinkers are really feelers. So but I'm not a feeler as much. It's pretty obvious by looking at my life that you look back and you're like, yeah, I'm that type. So who thinks who can get through trauma by learning the deep science behind it? Is there anybody here that's like me? That's my way. It's not a common way.
That's real. Yeah, it's so. I'd say it's more uncommon, but it's very interesting that you can get over that. Like I teach people. There's a lot of people. No, I'm reading. There's a lot of people that he says it too.
Who though does better? Who needs an emotional breakthrough? If you need an emotional breakthrough, put emotional. It's not that you don't benefit from an article, but you're more because I remember the first time I went to a Tony Robbins conference. He had this 3-day conference in Long Beach where I was born, and I went with my friend who's like me. He's also more logical, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? People were like jumping up and down, and they're like, whoa, I feel the release, but it worked for them. So I wasn't making fun of them. A lot of people, like my mom has been different religions throughout my life, right? And at one point she was charismatic Christian. And I was a teenager, and my mom was there at this church, and people are having these emotional breakdowns, and I'm going, it was harder for me. I kind of like played along a little bit because it's your parents and everyone around you, but in hindsight, that doesn't work. When I met Dr. David Buss and I started studying evolutionary psychology, I got more therapy from his textbook for sure than 1 trillion sets of psychoanalysis or cognitive therapy or meditation or ayahuasca. My mom was always like, Tai, you need to do, like, some people really do well with kind of mind altering drugs or psychedelics. I don't know. I've done it. It doesn't really, I mean, it's like, I've done that way because my mom's super that way. So I guess my main point I'm trying to say is that you got to know what works for you, and oftentimes people will impose what worked for them on you. And but I will tell meditation, by the way, even meditation, like I'll tell you what meditation does for me. Help me fall asleep because I'm a logical person, so my mind. So I love meditation, but I don't get the same thing. Like Dolph Lundgren, I don't know if you all know, he's a famous movie star. He became friends with me. He was in the Rocky movie. He told me a long time ago, like, he had a lot of trauma, and he's talked about this publicly too. And he said he's built up to, he needs to meditate for 1 hour a day. He doesn't fall asleep during his meditation. He like basically deals with his emotions. Well, I've tried that way and it doesn't help me, but meditation helped me fall asleep or go into that mid state where I'm not in deep sleep. It's like a recreation of maybe light REM sleep or something. So I think that, everybody has a little bit of a feeler in them, and everybody has a little bit of a thinker. Yeah, somebody put dancing. Okay, I'm going to give you the magical way you will know for sure if you're a feeler or a thinker. Who here listens to music more than 2 hours a day? Put in there how long does everybody here listen to music? Who just put in like 5 minutes, 5 hours a day? What's
so what
the
about
number
in the
for
background?
everybody?
If it's like on in the background, does that count?
Yeah, background, just music that you turned on. How many minutes, Natasha?
I have it on all day in my house. We have like a vibe of like relaxation music or like jazz music for work or like
then
lo-fi.
You're like a 95 out of 100 feeler. Let's see, who is somebody 0 to 10 minutes? Somebody said, Ryan says he's over 2 hours a day. You're probably at 8 of a feeler. Now, my business partner, Alex, Dr. Alex Mayer, is funny. I asked him, when's the last time he turned music on himself? Not like somebody else turned it on. He said he thinks it's 1999. That is his guess. He told me that last week. 1999 is the last time he turned music on. So he ain't like, if you have a problem with Alex, it's not a therapy thing. He does better like that. Now, me, I'm not as extreme as Alex. I like music, but I like to play music, actually. I play the piano, but a little bit of guitar. I play the piano,
too. I was classically trained. Do you play? Do you still play?
Yeah, I play. I mean, I'm not just amateur, but I do it for myself. So Alex is like a 0 of feelings. Okay. Natasha, you're more like a 90, and I don't know what number. I'm probably a 30, but that I think would help the world a lot more. So you need to follow people. You need to follow, like, if you're super emotional, you need to go down that route. And you know, the interesting thing, people do, like, charismatic Christian churches are full of the emotional people in America, and every religion. So for example, like Sufism is a branch. It's an Indian branch in India. Sufis are the charismatics of India. Muslims had, wait, are Sufis Muslim or Hindu? I might have this wrong. But anyway, every single major religion, and this is interesting, has a branch that's emotional and a branch that's super into logic. So like the Catholic Church was traditionally where you had, yeah, Sufis are Muslims. Sorry for getting it wrong. But there's a dervish people. That's the Indian one. I think they call it dervish. But the Catholic Church had like Thomas Aquinas with like very logic. So I think you know thyself, ladies and gentlemen, is crazy powerful. And it's not what people think. People are like, know yourself, like know your own goals. That's not what that saying means. It basically means know your DNA hardwire settings. And I will tell you, it ain't easy to do. In fact, the people that tell me they know them, the second someone's like, I know myself, I'm like, in my mind, you defined yourself as the one person who doesn't know themselves. It's not that easy. Sigmund Freud said the mind is like an iceberg. Most of it's below the surface, you know? So, yeah, this was good, Natasha. We got to do this more often.
We got to do this more often, I know. I'm enjoying this so much. This is beautiful.
We have a monthly one.
We're like the perfect blend of like different.
Is your husband more logical or more emotional? What would you say?
50-50. He's
compared to you, but compared to you, who's more emotional between you two?
Definitely me all day long. Like I'm the one who's, I just feel things. I like know with a human within 2 minutes, like if I'm going to marry them or if I'm not, like even if I'm going to be with them, if I'm going to love them as a friend, whatever it is, I know within like a few, and I feel it. And I'm like,
so when you met him, were you pretty sure this is a guy I'm going to marry?
I met him on Clubhouse. So I met him on an app, like almost no different to what we're doing here, but I didn't see his face. And I just heard him speaking and I was like, I clicked on his face. I went through to his face. I heard his voice. I liked his American accent. And I went through to his face and I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, this is a transatlantic move. I was like, I live in the UK. I was like, my whole career is in America. So where does he live? I was like, this is horrendous. Where am I moving to? If I press follow, because I know how to catch, keep, and seduce a man. Like I teach women how to do this. I teach men how to do this. I teach everyone how to meet their love within 24 hours, 3 weeks. Like my clients meet people so fast, right? It's just, I'm like a matchmaker who's never made a match. Like I don't actually help you find the person. I show you what to do. And so I go for it. I just said, when I heard him, I was like, okay, you know what? This is the one. I followed his face and I just went through and the rest was history. We were married within 3 months. You know, I'm very impulsive. Like my last husband, I think I married him like within, you know, a very small time too. I'm just one of these people. Like I don't believe anything lasts forever, but I do believe you go all in with something and it's just fucking amazing. Like
Wait, how long did you know the first husband before you got married, roughly?
Oh God. Like we were engaged in 3 weeks. Like it was.
Wow. You are, you're definitely more on the emotional side.
Oh, 100%. But I live like that. And I feel every day. I feel amazing. I feel alive. I'm just like filled with life. Everyone around me knows like you're going to have an amazing day when you're with me in my presence. I can't wait. When I come see you, if you're in Beverly Hills and I'm there in a couple of weeks, I'm going to hit you up. And then we're going to like, you're going to feel it. You're like, whoa, like this is power. This is like.
Somebody asked, what astrology sign are you? Somebody asked.
I'm a Capricorn. So I'm very ambitious. What are you? Are you April?
Capricorn is like Jeff Bezos. You're ambitious.
Oh, we are so ambitious. Me and Jack.
What's your husband? What's your husband?
He's He's March 5th. So
Pisces.
Yeah, he's a
Pisces. That's a good match, they say, if you believe in astrology.
I don't know. Apparently it's an amazing, but I don't know. But you know what? I heard it was a good match, but there's times when I'm like, I'm a big force to reckon with. Like I told him when I met him, I said, let me just let you know, I want to do family. I want to do all of that at some point. I already have a son, but I want to do it at some point for you. Yes. But let me tell you, my career and helping people in the world is so fierce. I go the full way with that every day. So just know that you're showing up to someone who's got 20 guy friends who are fucking famous and hot. Like you need to just deal with it. I was like,
how does he deal with that without getting jealous? A lot of guys can't handle that.
Because he's secure in himself. He's like, I don't need to prove anything. Like you do your thing. You know, if you want to come home, then you want to come home. And if you don't, then you know what? Like I wasn't for you. So he's so chill with it. In fact, sometimes I'm like, why the fuck aren't you jealous? Like, it's annoying. You know, I want like, I want it.
You know what? It's funny. Guys, it's tough to win with women because if you're jealous, women will be like, oh, you're controlling. And if you're not jealous enough, they'll be like, this guy doesn't care about me. So, Stephen Hawking was supposed to be the smartest man maybe ever alive. And before he died, they said, what do you not understand? And he's like, you know what? I understand black holes. I think I understand, the time-space continuum, wormholes. But women are hard for me. So and he was a Capricorn, by the way. He used to say he was a Capricorn. He didn't know what that meant. But so, yeah, it's one of those. Although I will tell you, if you read Evolutionary Psychology, textbook by Dr. Buss, it's actually not women being complicated. It is any species, whoever has internal gestation. So in seahorses, for example, the men carry the babies inside their stomach.
What?
And guess what? Yeah. And seahorses and certain fish. And guess who is the most complicated in that species? The women are not complicated in seahorses. It's the damn men. So it's whoever bears the higher cost of reproduction in Homo sapiens, humans. It's women because they have a 9-month expense. And it's also, scientists would say, whoever has the largest, gametic cells, gametes. Women have large gametes, men have sperm. Men produce billions or almost trillions. Women produce maybe 700, sex cells to reproduce eggs in their life. I forget what the number, 4, 5, 6,
and
700.
a man can
So
impregnate
seahorses. So it's actually not. We should not say women are complicated. If you want to be scientific, you should say the sex that has internal gestation is always damn complicated, but doesn't roll off the tongue well. Rick, that's not a good TikTok meme. It's easier to be like, yo, women are complicated. If I go on there and do a viral meme and I'm like, the sex that has the largest gametes, damn it, they're complicated, Rick. I feel like that's how to not go viral, although maybe that would be weird enough. It might go viral because people are like, what? I'm going to try that.
Why don't you do that? I'm
going to try the seahorse talk.
Yeah, do it. I love the fact that they can carry babies because I'm always like, listen, like when it comes to love, it's completely illogical. Like it's completely illogical. It doesn't matter. I sit with people who are like geniuses, little like you, and they sit and they're like firing over this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but sweetie, it doesn't apply like that when you're in love. When you fall in love, it's a feeling which guides you. It's like a pull which makes you feel I gotta fucking be with that person. I can't be away from that person. Okay, so now the seahorse.
Natasha, you need to do. I'll tell you, you want to do a viral podcast? Do a 3-person talk. You, your ex, and your current one, husband. And have they ever met each other?
They have. And it was...
they might become buddies.
Well, this is the funny thing. They suddenly, in this recent time, just got on so well. I was like, oh my God, everyone's like, it's so loose that when they were both in the house when we were in London, I was like, hi, everybody. I feel like it was just because, it's one of those crazy things. But yeah, you're right. But I should do a viral
when
video.
When exes get to know each other. That was like in The Office when Jan was there and Michael Scott's my ex-lovers have met each other. But yeah, it's good for guys that women are complicated. Kay says, okay. Is it good? Yeah. Is that a woman saying it? Men, 1 to 10. This is interesting. 1 to 10, 10 being the most complicated. How complicated are women to you as a man? 1 to 10. Put it in the comments.
Do you know, can I
7, 7, 10. 5. Money Milk thinks Sal says they're only a 1. So you understand them. Ewan Mansago says they're a 1. Somebody put 10,000. Nasser says a 5. Jake said 24. Jonathan says a 3. So it looks like the average man here is ranking the complicated level of women to be approximately a 7. I'm trying to think what I consider women to be.
Can I say I challenge it though? I don't think women are complicated. I think it is about the way that the other partner, be that a woman or a man, is looking at the woman, the way that he is handling her. Like if you wake up and you put food at the end of my bed and you make me a nice tea, we're going to start our day really well. But if you get up and then you don't think about me all morning, then I'm already starting my day on the back burner. Like, motherfucker, you did nothing for me. You want to play like that? But then it's okay. He's like, the housekeeper can do it. And I'm like, no, because it's love. You're meant to show up for me. You can.
I want to do a follow-up interview on this talk. I'll be the 4th person on that Zoom, on that speakeasy and Zoom call. I want to see. I want your ex. I'll be the mediator here, and I want to be like, yeah, love is. Somebody said Ty's face. Yeah, I think one thing we know about love, it's universal. It's beyond humans. Elephants fall in love. No female will sleep with every man. You know, sometimes they have a rhinoceros at the San Diego Zoo, and they're like, we need to have more little babies. So they bring some apparently ugly male rhinoceros, and none of the females will sleep with them. You know, to humans, we see rhinoceros, they're like, this dude's fine. And the women are like, what the fuck? You brought me the worst rhino on earth. So we know love is pretty universal. Dr. Helen Fisher talks about this. We know love transcends the human species. Dogs can fall in love. Elephants fall in love. I'm not sure if earthworms maybe, but the higher, smarter species, dolphins. We know that love can hit at different ages. You can fall in love for the first time at 85 years old. It happens. We know love, like you said, is, some scientists call it a drug, is a great, in the sense that a drug puts you in an altered state and nobody can get, like if you take crack cocaine. I had a trainer who used to work for me, and one day I was talking about crack cocaine. He's like, yeah, I remember when I was addicted to crack. I'm like, that is not something you nonchalantly say. But I asked him, he's like, bro, when you're on crack, he said he was married to a woman who was also on crack. He was a stripper and she was a stripper. And he's like, one time we did crack and we were in a stairwell, like in a building, stairs. And he's like, I walked around for like 6 hours, walked around. She fell asleep right away. And I walked around and talked to her and didn't realize she was asleep. So, and you couldn't get him out of that state. Like if I had gone up to him and be like, bro, wake up. Like, it's time to wake up. Why are we in stairs? Why are we talking to a sleeping woman like nonstop? I couldn't get him out of it. You know what I'm saying? So love has that component. You have a friend who falls in love with this horrific human and you're like, bro, wake up. I have a friend like this. It's funny. He moved from South America. He can't tell who like white trash Americans are. Like I shouldn't say white trash. I know
what you mean when people can't they can't hear it.
No, you know, he meets these women. I remember he met a woman. She had a tattoo of an anchor on one side. Right above on her crotch, she had another dude's name. Okay? She was just trashy. And my friend's like, I just like her. And I was going, wake up. Wake up. But I couldn't do it. No, it wasn't even lust. Like, they had been dating they like dated for like a year. I'm like, yellow. But so we know love is, you know, codependent. Some people call it codependency. All love has codependency aspects. Real love also has codependency, you know, as part of it. Obviously, it gets extreme. It's all a matter of degrees. But
I think love's about building.
Anyway, we need to do a whole nother. That's all. I don't want to open this can of worms. Now we'll have to do another conversation where I'm going to talk to you about, you know, I want to hear, I got to hear some of that. I think there's a lot of stories going on in that house you're in right now in Vancouver. I'm going to talk to your husband and say, did you put tea at the foot of the bed of Natasha? She's from the UK. So that tea is a big deal. Americans don't fucking understand tea, just so you know. So you got to give your husband a little bit of a break because to him, like,
that's what it is.
Americans
just doesn't get the tea.
Americans are more unhealthy. Like, he's going to put like donuts. That's a sign of love. He put Twinkies, fried Oreos. But yes.
Do you know what impresses me is like building an empire together, building a healthy diet together. Yes, motherfucker, if you can hear me. It's about nutritious food in your body. It's about feeding yourself. Like, I'm like, a reward for my body is good food, is exercise. And then he's like, I'm just going to go and get a doner kebab. I'm like, how the fuck do you still have a six pack? Like, I just don't get it. Like, what steroids are you taking? He's not. But like, I just wonder. I'm like, let me say, like, I'm so raw. By the way, I'm unapologetically me. Like, I have no filter. You will have noticed this. But like, I just demand a certain excellency. When I met him, I'm going to leave this one final thing with you before I dive. And it's this. And I say this. I said to him, when I met him, he called me one day and he was hungover. Okay. He was hungover. We were meant to be on Clubhouse hosting a room together. We hadn't met in person. We've been speaking online for a month. And he didn't show up to the room. He was late. He then calls me and he's like, and I'm on Clubhouse. I'm like, yes, I'm on Clubhouse. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, I'm so hungover. And I was like, you're what? I was like, oh. I was like, that's why you missed the room. I was like, so you let 2,000 people down. I was like, let me tell you something, sweetie. I was like, I'm not the kind of girl who sends you Uber Eats to your house right now to say, oh, I'm sorry that you feel so unwell, baby. Here's some food and donuts to make you feel good. I said, sweetie, I'm the kind of girl who says right now, sit the fuck down so the man behind you can stand up if you are not ready to commit and be a superior man in the way that I need you to be and be a husband. Because someone who's hungover, I said, quit alcohol and call me. Flies to the UK, hung up. I didn't answer my phone. He flies to the UK 24 hours later for the first time to meet me. He's like, I'm never drinking in my life again. 1 year to this day, we've been together. We met in April and he's never drunk since. When I tell you.
You need to start Natasha's life boot camp. That stuff. Barry's boot camp is a very successful thing. You could just be like, yo, you get men in there and you get women and people be beaten. It might be a little domestic. You might need a few bouncers, security, be some domestic violence, some people getting smacked around. Try to minimize the smacking around, but a lot of people need that.
Yes, some people do.
Some people need it. Like, yo, stop. I always say almost every one of us would have been better off had the right drill sergeant come into our life that actually cared about us at the right time. Like all of us, like everybody would be like, damn it. People need love, but you also need a kick in the butt. You need the carrot and the stick. You know what I'm saying?
100%. And let me tell you, a woman or the right partner will do that to you. And that's how I know. Like, we're going to speak offline because I'm going to speak to you on things. But let me say, the right person is going to help you to grow exponentially, put another zero on the end of your earnings every year. My husband goes, you 10x my business in 1 year. You 10x what I was doing in the first year. And you told me it on day one. I told him, I don't go in with a normal flow. Normal goes, hey, babe, how are you? No, forget how are you? We know how he is. He's fine. So I'm like, hey, what's up? So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to build this with you. We're going to build this empire. We're going to build this orphanage together, which we started putting all the seeds behind. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to help the world in this way. And you are going to do this. And he was like, I was like, yeah. So get rid of that side chick. I was like, she needs to leave. So I was like,
did you beat up the side chick? I could see you just parachuting in, be like, yo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, rear naked choke, boom, she's out.
All day. I'm not threatened by side chicks. I'm like, oh, sweetie. I call them dots. I'm like, oh, baby girl. I'm like, this is me. You can see me online wherever you want. This is you. A dot in the ocean. I'm the motherfucking wave. Like, just don't even try and fuck with me.
This is good.
This is
maybe should stop right here. I don't know if we can get better. This was the best ending we can get right here. We're leaving at the top.
This is so good. And we're having so much fun. Okay.
People, you'd be surprised. A lot of people like to dating stuff, you should talk. Sometimes it's more popular than anything else you can talk about.
I know.
Because not everybody wants to make money. I mean, not everybody wants to make crazy amount of money. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to work for themselves. But almost everybody wants to have, everybody wants to have love in their life at least once. Some people, 100%. Like my dad was married 6 times. The end of his life, I was like, Dad, you're going to get married again so you don't die alone? He's like, I want to die alone. He's like, I am done with women. He's like, I had 6 wives. He's like, I don't care. I'm never talking to women again. So there are people like that. But he was very romantic until he was about 60. And then he was like, I'm solo, Tai. He's like, I need no woman. I need nobody. I just live in Long Beach. He lived in Long Beach where he went to prison and got out. And he never left there till he died. So, but everyone else that ain't been married 6 times are like, I want to have a little love in my life, Good.
Right, we're going to come back and rock it out.
I hope you, thanks everybody for coming on. Good old, somebody says Quincy Jones has 23 girlfriends at 83 years old. Money. And he's talented. I saw the best viral video. There was this, I got to send, it's so politically incorrect. It's this dude in a pickup truck. He's probably, 70 years old. And the guy's like, how you dating all these 29-year-old women? And he pulls out a stack. He goes, money. And then the guy goes, but what about, he's like, don't you want a woman, to love you and all that? He's like, what's your opening line? Don't you? He's like, money. It's just, I got to send you this. I should post it. Anyway.
Send me this. I need to see it.
Don't do that way because you get the wrong kind of way. But this guy was more not caring about relationships. Anyway. Tai, would you interview Trump? Bring me Trump. If anybody brings me Trump, I'll give you 50 grand for an interview.
Beautiful. I love it. Speak to Grant. He just did it. He just had
he had him at his conference, but we'll get him. For any of you who have some big names you want to bring also like that, former presidents or something, if you get them on Speakeasy, depending on who they are, we have big commissions, referral commissions. So you can reach out to Itzel, who's on here, and private message her on Speakeasy. Itzel Romero, I don't know where she is. She was on here. Huh? Yeah. So good. All right. Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you. Had the best time with you.
We'll talk offline.
Yeah, we'll talk offline.
All right.
Peace and love, everybody. Thank you for having me.